Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hey everybody, this is the Digital Asset Investor. There's a lot going on today, so I'm going to do the second half in the private group. You can join by going to daixrp.com or click join below any of these YouTube videos or subscribe through X to join the group. Look at this. I asked Grok the top 5 companies providing institutional digital asset custody based on their reputation, security, features, regulatory compliance, and industry adoption are BitGo, Coinbase Custody, that's called Coinbase Prime, Fireblocks, Fidelity Digital Assets, Hex Trust, I'm not familiar with that one. But that, Fireblocks is the one that, one of the companies I use to keep my digital assets, Caleb and Brown. This is who they use, Fireblocks. They've been doing it for years. These guys have been in business since 2016. I watched them for 3 years before partnering up with these guys, and these guys, when you put your crypto there, you get someone you can talk to, you get the institutional grade custody, and you get they've got multiple liquidity providers for your exit strategy. If you want to open an account with these guys, you can go to this page on Caleb and Brown, type in xrpwealth589.com. I created that .com just so that it would forward you to the page on Caleb and Brown. It's an easy way to go there. I wanted to remind everybody, today at 3 p.m., John Deaton says so much misinformation, disinformation, accusations, finger pointing, fear, anger, panic. I'll do my best to give you the information I know and what I firmly believe. I know a link to, if you know a link to customer, please let them know. The spaces will be recorded. He's doing this at 3 p.m. Eastern time is my understanding. I hope to listen in and get an update as well. 219 XRP is kind of boring market this morning, but this isn't boring. Goldman Sachs says fastest market recovery ever can continue for the next couple of weeks. Folks, just think about all the things that we've got ahead for XRP, the positive news that's going to drop imminently on so many different things, from the Ripple case to the ETFs to the Genius Act supposedly becoming law sometime in July. And then we got the infrastructure bill right behind it. This is, what's this dude's name? I forget his name. I always forget this guy's name. Crypto Lark, is that his name? He's talking XRP.
Token. There's a race on to see which coin gets its own spot ETFs after Bitcoin and Ethereum, and there are plenty in the running, but XRP is one of the most likely to get it. It's a good bet to get it. And then when it does get an ETF, again, billions of inflows to XRP have an outsized effect compared to Bitcoin. The SEC is starting a formal review of Wisdom Tree's filing for a fund called the Wisdom Tree XRP Trust. This is the first time the commission has performed this kind of review on a spot XRP product, and from here the process can take up to 240 days before a decision is actually made to either approve or...
I meant to put it after this tweet, but I think I misplaced it. But somewhere in here I saw something that the chances on Polymarket of an XRP ETF spiked like something crazy, like 30% in a day yesterday. I'll show that in the group if I can find it. This was interesting. I played some of this in my group. This right here is Jack McDonald, who runs Ripple RLUSD. There's 2 great clips.
Stable coins. You can start to separate out the issuers, the types of stable coins. There's either US dollar backed or non-dollar backed, and then you can get into kind of subcategories of, are they 100% US dollar backed? US dollar backed stable coins represent 97% of the $240 billion market today. So I think that your question is really around US dollar backed stable coins. There's some speculation that not all dollar backed stable coins are the same. In our case, we follow the guidelines from our regulator, New York DFS, and only invest in high quality liquid assets in terms of those reserves. And so not all stablecoin issuers are the same. Some are regulated, some are not. We're the most regulated in the land by being regulated as a trust bank out of New York State. And so that's different than Tether, that's largely unregulated, certainly not regulated in the US, doesn't go through the same sort of regulatory requirements that we do. Circle issues their stablecoins out of money transmitter licenses here in the U.S. We have some money transmitter licenses. We also have a trust bank charter, and that's where we issue the stablecoin out. So it's one step, I'd say, further up the regulatory food chain. There are much more rigor and requirements that we need to go through. And also, as a trust bank, we act as a fiduciary for our clients. So there's an important distinction there that only as a fiduciary can you hold client reserves and truly bankruptcy remote accounts, which we have. Specific to PayPal's stablecoin Pi USD, a little bit different in that they also enjoy being issued out of a New York regulated entity, Paxos. However, those are two different companies, and so PayPal essentially licenses the platform, if you will, or have a bit of a white label type of relationship with Paxos to get their stablecoin issued. We're different in that we're totally vertically integrated. So we have our own license. We control 100% of the economics, the issuance, the distribution, et cetera, and just rely on our own licenses to do that.
All right. And then we had this clip too.
And Jack, where does Ripple hope for RLUSD to be, 18 to 24 months from now? What is are there any goals, any milestones that you're seeking to reach in terms of adoption and penetration of the market?
24 months from now, we certainly expect to be, and it depends how we define them, but certainly one of the top three regulated U.S. dollar-backed stable coins in the world, if not higher.
Let me call it. I believe RLUSD will be number one before this is over. Meanwhile, the shadow bank Tether, this is what they're having to go through.
It really is dollar backed. So that would be an independent audit. And I know that you've talked about this before. Third party attestation reports are one thing. Are you in talks? Where does that stand, engaging with the Big Four to do an actual independent audit of everything?
So the previous administration of the United States made it very difficult. Senator Warren sent letters to the auditors basically suggesting that they should not touch crypto companies. And the OCC was very against crypto companies. Banks were not banking crypto companies. And the one that they banked crypto companies were basically almost killed. Think about Silvergate Ventures, Silicon Valley Bank, and so on. So now with the new administration, we had already started successful discussions with different auditors that are interested to potentially audit Tether. And so that was not possible, would not be possible without the change of administration and the change of direction.
So it's more than 1-to-1 at this point. What are you saying it is in terms of being backed by the dollar?
So USDT reserves are 104% collateralized. So we have around $6 billion more than the $155 billion in reserves that we need to hold as 100% of reserves of our stablecoin. Our market cap is $155 billion. So we keep $6 billion in excess equity.
Okay, well, sure. Trust but verify is what Ronald Reagan said. So do a full audit all the way, a historical audit, and it should be no problem. And then this guy right here is CEO of Canopy Capital Group. He's talking stablecoins on CNBC.
Stablecoins are becoming, I think, more mainstream, and we've had again and again people say instead of being bad for the dollar, it would actually probably help enshrine. They would help enshrine the dollar's premier status around the globe, and even help the bond market because it has to be backed with dollar-based. Or if it's a dollar-based stablecoin, it needs to be backed with bonds or something.
Yeah, that's 100% true. I have been obsessed with stablecoins since my time at Fidelity, one of the world's largest money market funds. I wanted us to issue one, years ago before it was even something that people really understood completely. Now I think you're seeing how powerful stablecoins are. To your point, the way to think about a stablecoin is it's somewhere between the way it's being proposed right now, a money market fund and a savings account or checking account at a bank, but it's so much more powerful. Think about you having to send a Venmo, a Zelle, a a PayPal to a swim instructor for your children or pay your friend for some event. Today, you have to use an intermediary who holds that money and makes interest on it. I see a world where eventually stablecoins will be the main transaction mechanism for all payments flowing through the global economy, and I think that's a huge innovation. What we're seeing today, hopefully the Genius Act will be voted on in Congress and passed, and that will lay the foundation for more regulated stablecoins. Right now, stablecoins is a $250 billion industry. Tether and Circle have about 90% of that.
That's going to change quick. Look at this. This is interesting. Dom from EZA says, where is he getting the money to buy all this Bitcoin? Michael Saylor's strategy buys 4,980 Bitcoin, worth $531 million. This guy says, maybe if you'd stop diddling with XRP, you'd be able to open your eyes to the biggest story in all of finance. Cheerio. He says, Jeff is right. The downfall of MicroStrategy would be the biggest story in all of finance. I'm telling you, folks, I've seen this movie. Now, this is interesting. And, of course, when I hear these guys talking Bitcoin, you know, the whole PSYOP thing, I'm hearing XRP. Because big money, they always do things in secret before it's public.
The reason why I think we should have a strategic Bitcoin reserve, I know you guys had Michael Saylor.
Anytime you hear all the talk about this one thing, this is how Wall Street works. Anytime you hear all the talk about this one thing, look over here, look over here. That's directed at retail while the big boys do something else.
On your show, and I think he's onto something. There is something called like the mass adoption theory, which is over a period of time, like the English language, US dollar, things just catch on, and they're
not
just...
only that, but the freaking hedge fund guys and the short sellers, when they hear all this hype over one thing, this one thing becomes a target. That's the other part of it.
Kind of volitional, and there's no stopping it. I think Bitcoin is that. You got to watch out, though. Quantum computing could potentially crack cryptography.
But if they do that, then they're also cracking bank accounts.
Right.
And stock trading accounts.
So quantum is the only asterisk on all this. But I think Saylor is onto something very profound, which is that because Bitcoin is a scarce, legitimately scarce resource, that it's probably going to go nowhere but up. So Saylor makes a very provocative argument that Bitcoin could go up 10x over the next 10 years or something like that, which therefore if we start a Bitcoin strategic reserve, it could pay for the national debt and basically cover our losses on the deficit. But I think that I think the United States government should be invested in crypto without a doubt.
I tend to agree with Michael Saylor that it's more likely to go to $1 million than zero.
Yes, I think that's right. And by the way, so you have a problem with the world's richest people. They don't know where to put their money. So there's only so many penthouses in London and Paris that they could buy.
Have they heard of XRP? I think so.
There's only so many ranches in Wyoming that they could buy. And so we had this problem. So you create all this money, the money goes upwards. To wealth inequality point, to your earlier point, the question is then, well, what do rich people do with money? There's only so many equities they can buy. There's only so many shares in NVIDIA and Apple and Microsoft that they could justify. Well, money needs to find a home, and it's found a home in Bitcoin. And so once it has mass adoption, and literally the wealthiest families on the planet are starting to park serious monies in Bitcoin. And because it's scarce, it's easy to transfer, and it's just a winner. Sometimes there's a mass adoption, and it just rises to the surface, and I think
I guarantee you the wealthy are staring straight at XRP, even more than Bitcoin. Okay, I got so much XRP stuff to cover that I was kind of overwhelmed this morning. We're going to go in DAI XRP, the Patreon. If you'd rather join through YouTube, click the join button right below this. I'm a digital asset investor. I'm not an investment advisor. This is for entertainment purposes only. Please subscribe, hit the like button, tell your friends and family. Away we go.